Hello everyone! In today's video, I'm continuing with the 1/24 scale shop build. I'll be adding some simple handmade accessories, along with some custom designed and 3D printed items as well. As always, for anyone new to this project, I'll be sure to include a link to the playlist below in the description for the previous videos of the scale shop build. I'm continuing right where I left off in the previous video. As you might recall, I added a number of details, including designing and printing these tool chests and these office windows. I wanted to continue to make some items that I can place around the shop, starting with making some cardboard boxes. I plucked this piece of cardboard out of the trash and simply drew out a box shape that I could cut out and fold. I used some micro crystal clear glue to glue the box, and also cut some very thin pieces of tape to secure it just like you would for a full-size box. To make packaging peanuts, I just ripped little pieces of a regular sized one. These were a little tricky to make because of the small scale, however they turned out looking great and made a nice simple and no cost addition to the shop. Another simple handmade accessory that I added was a body panel stand. I used some flexible stainless steel wire to make the main parts. I cut each side to the same length and then bent each to the shape that I needed. Once I had the wires the correct size and shape, I cut some shrink wrap that I used to make the top appear to have some padding. I used super glue to secure each side, though it still wasn't a very strong connection. To make the connection much stronger, I used some Milliput epoxy putty. I once again used heat shrink to make the rubber feet that go on the bottom. To add the final touch of detail, I used some excess extruded 3D printer filament to make limiting straps. Although not perfect looking, I do like the finished result, and it makes a nice addition to the shop. I moved on to designing and 3D printing some parts, starting with the sink. A shop sink was one of the suggestions that was commented in the previous video, and I thought it would look nice to have one. After looking at some different designs to use as a reference, I decided to use this smaller 2-nozzle sink since I liked the design and it wouldn't take up too much space. I used Autodesk Fusion 360 to model the part, starting with the upper sink section and then making the lower base portion. After getting the basic shape, I gradually added some more subtle details. Once satisfied with how it looked, I moved on to modeling a basic oil drain pan. Another commonly suggested item to add was an engine hoist. Once again, with good reference material, it's not a difficult object to model, however designing it in a way that would make it easy to print on an FDM printer took some planning. I designed it so that the base and arm could be easily printed in 3 separate pieces, as you'll see later on. The caster wheels will be printed and glued on separately, just like the tool chest that was designed in the previous video. Once these new parts were designed, I began printing each piece. I then moved on to doing some post-print finishing work. The sink turned out a little rough, but I still decided to use it. I started by sanding each surface smooth with a file and sandpaper. There were a few spots that needed some filler, which I let dry before doing some more sanding. At this point, the sink was starting to look pretty nice, so I moved on to working on the engine hoist. I accidentally damaged a few spots on the base while removing the supports, so I applied a little glue to repair these sections and then began cleaning up the edges with a hobby knife along with drilling out the holes. After that, I began doing some sanding and glued the 2 halves of the arm together. While waiting for the glue on the engine hoist to dry, I sanded the outer surface of each oil drain pan to help remove some of the layering. After that, I sanded each part of the engine hoist. At this point, I was ready to apply primer to all the parts to help further smooth each surface. I applied the primer in a few thick coats. After applying the primer, I did a little more sanding before applying paint. Since the sink will be two colors, I decided to use fast-drying acrylic paint applied with an airbrush, starting with painting the base black. I then masked off the lower part and painted the upper sink section silver. Already, each part was looking much better with some paint, but I still wanted to add a few details to the engine hoist and sink. I started by painting all the fasteners with some chrome silver paint. I also went ahead and painted a few details on the sink. I then painted the retractable arm black and the piston rod steel. After that, I wanted to paint a few sections of the sink flat black. These subtle flat black sections don't really show up on camera, but they provide just a little bit of contrast to an otherwise completely gloss black base. Finally, I glued the caster wheels to the bottom of the engine hoist. The finished result ended up looking great, and I was eager to get these into the shop. It's a lot of fun taking a design and making it into a physical object, and I couldn't be happier with how these turned out. At some point, I would like to come up with a way to hang an engine from the hoist. These accessories make great additions to the shop, and I'm really enjoying gradually seeing more and more items being added and the shop looking more scale with each video. I hope this video has provided you with some ideas and inspiration. There's still a lot more stuff I have planned, so be sure to be on the lookout for more videos featuring this project. The STL files for the items that I designed in this video have been added to the growing collection of objects available for download on Patreon. I'll be sure to include a link below in the description. Pre-printed versions will also be added to our store page. I'll include some links to those as well once they're available. But that's all for today's video. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.